Welcome to Blockchain Recorded, the podcast for the tech curious, where we talk about anything and everything related to the exponentially evolving crypto, blockchain, and Web 3.0 space. Our mission is simple: to share knowledge, facilitate discourse, and help evolve education in blockchain fundamentals, decentralization solutions, and relevant use cases for today's digital economy. We at Blockchain Recorded are not registered investment advisors and do not deal with financial or trading token elements, nor offer any licensed financial services. The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only, while the opinions of all parties involved are their own. I'm your host, Nina Tserar, and now let's talk blockchain. Before I introduce our guest today, I'd like to remind our listeners to follow us on Twitter, where we pre-stream each episode on Twitter Spaces the day before publishing on all major podcast platforms. For the platform list, visit our website, blockchainrecorded.com. In addition, Blockchain Recorded Podcast is a proud media partner of the upcoming Istanbul Blockchain Week event. For further event information, speakers, and ticket details with available discounts, check blockdownconf.com and istanbulblockchainweek.com. This episode is dedicated to the Web3 Stronger Together ecosystem initiative and its first virtual summit, which took place between March 1st and March 4th, 2023 in Evveland's Metaverse, a virtual platform uniting several hundred Web3 leaders and thinkers, over 100 projects and speakers, and over 5,000 attendees from across the world. The purpose of Web3 Stronger Together, with which Blockchain Recorded is a proud media partner, is to demonstrate to the crypto community that the Web3 ecosystem is strong, solidary, active, and committed to furthering innovation despite the status of the market and nature of price speculations. It emphasizes the importance of fairness, inclusivity, diversity, and sustainability to furthering healthy Web3 fundamentals. The summit included many panel discussions with assigned topics, which Blockchain Recorded is redistributing in audio form. The third panel discussion on March 2nd and 12th panel overall explores CBDCs and stablecoins. The speakers were Charmaine Short, the CEO and Web3 consultant at Metaverse Limited and co-founder of Women of Crypto Art DAO, David Creer, global TLT and crypto lead at GFT Group, Hassan Bakkali, CEO of iCapital Ventures and blockchain advisor and consultant, and Phillipe Furlan from FrenchCrypto.org, a crypto blockchain software lead developer and architect. The speakers first defined the stablecoin and CBDC, their role and potential risk in the industry. They discussed the difference between the two, whether programmable money is needed, and use case considerations from varying points of view. The following is the panel's discussion hosted by Laurent Perello, the leader behind the Web3 Stronger Together ecosystem initiative. We do apologize for potential audio drops due to choppy internet connections. We edited the recording to the best of our ability.
Welcome again for this panel discussion 3, day 2, first virtual summit, Web3 Stronger Together virtual summit. I'm really excited to welcome our today guests. We have David, Hassan, Phillipe, and Charmaine. We will talk today about DeFi and the future of money, exploring CBDC and stablecoin and their potential role in this financial revolution. So welcome again, and thank you for taking part and bring your vision, your contribution. We will start quickly by I will invite you to introduce yourself, explain what you do, and why are you involved in Web3. So, Hassan, let's start. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Laurent. Hello and good morning, everybody. First of all, it's a pleasure being with you here. Why am I involved in Web3? Actually, I am more from a traditional financial service standpoint. I've been working a few years with MasterCard, that you probably all know, and many more years with AXA, which is a big insurance company. Still in that perspective, I can say that I have a quite big and deep understanding of the financial service. And that made me think about how I can contribute to make it better, more inclusive, nicer for us people. And to be frank, that's how I started my journey in the Web3. Because I'm very much convinced that where we are coming from and what our background experience, professional background is, we can contribute to making this, I would say, world a better world, and including with those actors. Some of them are not evil, and some of them are helping us and will help us to grow. And that's why I believe Web3 is a unique opportunity to, I would say, make those actors contribute differently, nicer, and I hope I can contribute on my side by this way, helping them improve the way they work.
Thanks to you, and welcome again. Charmaine, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me again. Right, so I'm an IT consultant and I've been delivering services across regulatory payments change programs in financial institutions for many years. I've been a cryptocurrency enthusiast since 2019, and in 2020 I got into collecting NFTs, and this led me to co-found a DAO called Women of Crypto Art, which onboards and supports women creators onto blockchain. And I now offer Web3 consultancy through my company Metaverse, which helps organizations to launch successful projects using blockchain technology, including digital currency, NFTs, and the Metaverse.
Welcome, and thanks again for contributing to this first virtual summit. Phillipe, bienvenue.
Hello, look, I'm Phillipe from FrenchCrypto.org. I'm a member of underground organizations that are building a new Web3 blockchain cryptocurrencies that plan to survive the upcoming crypto bubble burst. We are building the crypto of the people, by the people, and for the people. That's it for now.
Welcome. David.
Bonjour, Laurent.
Bonjour.
So, yeah, I've been involved in the, let's say, like blockchain space, because I think Web3, depending on how you look at it, there's a lot more to blockchain than just Web3, right? But I've been involved in the blockchain space since 2014. When I first started at GFT, at that point in time, I was an innovation consultant, and that's when they were starting off their first projects in blockchain. GFT is a technology services provider, and we work a lot of the time with traditional financial services institutions, so banks, exchanges, asset managers, etc., etc. And we've done a lot of stuff for them in terms of how do you use blockchain technology, for example, for representing flows in capital markets, or for institutional crypto, or for identity processes. And we continue to carry on basically working in that. But more and more now, I think we're seeing that people want to understand about the future of finance and how blockchain technology, or even just cryptographic technology in the case of CBDCs, will underpin the financial technology of the future, right? So really happy to be here on this panel, and really happy to be speaking with all of the other panelists here today. Should be a good talk.
Thanks, David, for this introduction, and it's the perfect transition. Let's jump in the today topic, DeFi, the future of money. And we hear a lot actually about CBDC, a central bank exploring CBDC. We also know that stablecoin had a really important role in the crypto ecosystem. We have seen some drama. We know that regulators now are taking care more and more about defining clear guidance for stablecoin. There is some polemic also about how they are backed. So let's maybe start by defining. I want to talk about stablecoin first, if you agree. What is a stablecoin? And we have centralized stablecoin, decentralized, algorithmic. What is your point of view, and how could you define what is a stablecoin and the role in the blockchain industry, crypto industry, and all around in Web3? We want to jump on this. Charmaine.
Yeah, so cryptocurrency can be very volatile. I mean, it might be worth, £1,000 one day, and then the next day it's worth £500. So if you want to have some stability for budgeting and pricing, you're better to use a cryptocurrency which is pegged to the dollar, for example. And if it's something like your job that you get paid, and you want to get paid the same amount every month, you don't want to be getting paid in Bitcoin or Ether necessarily. So it's useful for that. It's also useful if you want to trade cryptocurrencies and not be hit by taxes more than you need to. So if you change your, say, a Bitcoin into a stable coin before you would want to change it into another cryptocurrency, and you're not being hit by different taxes. So that it's useful for those sorts of things. It's the stability, really, as long as it's backed by something. So I used to invest in stable coins, and I used to have UST, which was based on the Terra blockchain. And then in May last year, it was an algorithmic blockchain, and it actually collapsed. And all my UST stablecoin, which was worth $1, was worth about 1 cent. So I have had my fingers burnt personally by stable coins. So people need to be careful and see what is actually behind it, which I think is where a central bank digital currency is maybe the solution.
So, the Luna collapse has been one of the reasons why I have started this Web3 Stronger Together initiative last year in August to try to federate, aggregate smart people, trustable people, because it's easy to say that in blockchain we trust, but behind, all around, inside, it's all about real people. And we need also to try to create a smart ecosystem. I mean, trustable, where people can really, personally, I will quickly share my states on the Luna. A lot of people told me about Luna. Time to time, I say, I stay outside and far away. It's not sustainable. What we face also, it's we too often give value to crypto based on hype, and hype never lasts. I close the topic, but I know a lot of victims, and it's really something disappointing. Hassan, yeah. You have also this institutional, let's say, background. For you, what is the role, the advantage that brings stablecoin in the crypto industry? And also we have started to discuss about the risk, but how also institutional consider this, and explain maybe why they need a CBDC. We could consider it's mostly the same. What is the difference also between CBDC and stablecoin?
Okay. One thing maybe first of all that Charmaine mentioned, which is very important, don't get fooled by the name stablecoin. I think that's very first important, disclaimer that you have to make here. Charmaine explained that we can be algorithmic or fetch to some stable, I would say, asset or not. Okay. Who can believe today that dollar is a stable asset? Who can believe that gold is a stable asset? We have seen that gold has been also, has seen its price, I would say, fluctuating a lot those last 10, 20 years. So stablecoin might be a very misleading word nowadays. Second, from an institutional point of view, that's very interesting what is happening, because if you understand how money is created, and that's in the topic of today, you understand that the debt is actually the main engine behind money creation. And you have seen what has happened the last 2 or 3 years with the value of our money, be it euro, dollar, yen, whatever money you are holding in your wallets. Third thing I wanted to add is stablecoin versus CBDC from an institutional point of view. If you speak to MasterCard and even Visa, you will see that they are very aggressive in taking positions in that world. However, they are looking mainly at stablecoins. When I speak with my ex-colleagues at MasterCard, for example, it's very hard for them to take positions on cryptocurrency. They would rather look first at stablecoin. Because they are indeed, from a different point of view, more stable than, I would say, the others. The other aspects, if you look at the CBDC, there is a big war with commercial banks, because don't forget that nowadays, your money is deposited on a bank account, and this bank account is held on a commercial bank, which is at the end responsible to create the money, the credits that you use, and so on. So at the moment that central banks are going to be issuing their own currency, clearly the role of the commercial banks is put at risk. So that's why I don't believe we are not going to see a strong position from institutions on CBDC at this stage. because they need commercial banks to invest into their developments. They need commercial banks to create debt. They need commercial banks to be there to help them move forward and create growth. So that's, I think, why we see so much drama nowadays with CBDC, is because, yes, the central bank want them because they want to fight cryptocurrencies, but at the end, it's very difficult to do that with our commercial banks, and commercial banks are there to support the growth of private companies.
Thank you. It's a really interesting statement. Thanks for sharing, Hassan. David, how do you consider the role of so-called stablecoin, and what is your point of view regarding CBDC? There is a risk for with like the MiCA new regulation in Europe to see maybe stablecoin disappear. What is your point of view?
Yeah, so stablecoin, I mean, it does what it says on the tin, right? So the idea is to have some kind of coin which you can use for payment or settlement, and that can either be from using a publicly issued stablecoin, so for example USDC or USDT or something like that, or it could even be a bank issued stablecoin as well. So you could have, I don't know, Barclays coin, right? And the reason for doing that was basically to be able to have a settlement process that was not affected by market, not impacted by market events. So what we are seeing is that stablecoins are obviously being used for this process, and some people are also using them, like Charmaine was for investment purposes. But actually, a lot of the commercial banks are more thinking about what's the interaction between stablecoins and their settlement systems, how they can use stablecoins to be able to basically pay for traditional assets and basically keep everything within this kind of closed loop system, to not go out and then settle into fiat, which basically takes maybe a day or two to be able to do. And also the same on the payments leg as well, right? So if you think about, how long it takes to be able to transfer money, let's talk about cross-border payments. So we had a launch event of the Universal Digital Payments Network the other day, or about a month ago when Davos. And to be able to pay for the people to be able to basically rent the room, we had to basically send a transfer that took 3 days to do, and there wasn't any kind of traceability in that. We couldn't see what was going on between those 2 or 3 days, and in the end, it did go through, but it took 2 or 3 days to be able to process that wire transfer between Hong Kong and Switzerland, right? So that process is completely broken, right? And that's where we need to be able to have these kind of, we need to be able to have a transaction process which is more transparent and which is quicker. At this point in time, that could be done via privately issued stablecoins or publicly issued stablecoins, but in the future, that will undoubtedly be done via CBDCs. But then it won't be just one CBDC, will it? Because you're talking about a lot of international business that goes on. So, sending money in this case between Hong Kong and Switzerland, but it could be, there's lots of people who do remittance between different countries all the time. So CBDCs will be used basically for these international payments or for local payments, but all CBDCs work in a different way. So there's a huge underlying problem here around interoperability, right? And about how stablecoins on one side, which are filling the gap for the time being, and CBDCs in the future, which will be the payment service of the future when payments are automated, and we all do payments in a more, let's say, automated and less manual way. But none of these are based on the same kind of technologies. None of these have the same distribution models. None of these have the same formats. There isn't any kind of underlying standards bodies that rate this. And that's why things like the Universal Digital Payment Network, or these kinds of things which are kind of bringing CBDC technologies together and also stablecoin technologies together, are super important. How market events like Terra Luna and all of that is kind of managed is really up to the regulators, right? In my opinion, and because you also have that in traditional finance as well. You had the era of wildcat banking in the US, where you had these banks and they basically issued their own money. They issued their own money. They didn't have any reserves. They were meant to have $50,000 worth of reserves. They didn't have that, and they basically issued their own money. And a lot of these banks went bust because eventually there was an investigation into it. They found that they didn't have the money. The bank went bust. That the money was not worth anything. And that's what we're having also now a kind of moment around that in stablecoin. But the regulation is kind of gradually kind of like catching up to be able to make sure that actually these kind of, especially the algorithmic backed stablecoins, cannot have a really empty reserve, right? That actually, if they do have a reserve, it's got to be a properly, backed stablecoin. So I think we will get there, but I would say that we're still at that first point in actually using it as money and it being kind of like used on the open market, and we are really at kind of just getting out of that kind of like wildcat banking stage now in the stablecoin era, I think.
It's really exciting to hear your thought and your analysis of the stablecoin and the future of CBDC. Phillipe, what's your point of view? Do we need stablecoin? Do we need CBDC? We will see kind of competition between. What's your point of view?
We need some currency for sure, but CBDC, it's a currency created by central bank. Stablecoin is a currency created by anybody. In fact, it's illegal to create some stablecoin because only a central bank are authorized to issue money currency. Today, they decide the bank knows that since the arrival of the Bitcoin, that there is a threat against the bank because with the Bitcoin, we don't need bank anymore. Okay, the reason that the bank react to this issue and decided to create this CBDC. It's a total joke, but they have to because they want to be sure that they're going to survive. They don't want that we move into a world where we use cryptocurrency instead of cash. So stablecoin will disappear when the bank will be providing to the end users a so-called cryptocurrency. In fact, it's not cryptocurrency, but it's CBDC is just to communicate to the end users that all the cryptocurrency are bad, and they don't know how really to express that to the people. They cannot really fight against cryptocurrencies, the real ones, the Bitcoin in particularly, because it's so great when you use Bitcoin you can transfer directly. We don't need bank anymore. Look at the big issue. When CBDC will be ready, and they're going to be ready by the end of this year, and so it's announced, and it's all over the world. It's almost 90% of the central banks are going to issue CBDC. And when we can talk more about CBDC, what is going to be, it's a very interesting subject. But stablecoin will disappear, and it's a total joke. It means we don't know. Nobody is checking who can check what are the reserves of a stablecoin. The government are not going to lose their time to regulate them. They don't need to. They just say you are not the right to issue stablecoin. Don't stop it. We see with Binance stablecoins that it was not possible to exchange your Binance stablecoin for US dollar. The government can decide at any moment to stop them from a legal point of view, and it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's a really good point. You highlight. I often discuss with members of the crypto world about we will see the stablecoin disappearing for a few reasons. It can be, as we have seen recently with BUSD, regulatory decision, or maybe due to the real mass adoption, because for now, we often say, it's really useful in such volatile crypto world. So being able, and also because the regulation in terms of taxation is often not well implemented or clearly implemented or not well managed. So, but what if a mass adoption reduce the volatility? Do we still need a stablecoin?
When we see the value of stablecoin, we value them with fiat money. It means we compare them to real money, and the people, the bank who owns the real money, at one moment they say, we don't want you to do that. They really, the bank controls the money. They can do what they want with it. And if at one moment you try to issue your own money, I tried to do it a few years ago. They will say to me, no, you don't have the legal right to do it. Stop it. You would go to jail then. And in France, there is somebody recently who decided to start to create their own money, and they are in big trouble from a legal point of view. Myself, I decided to become a candidate to the French presidential campaign, and part of my program was to issue of cryptocurrencies, franc numérique. And the reason of that, it's with a cryptocurrency, you can do a lot of great things, but you can also create a lot of bad things. And unfortunately, the existing bank may not do good things with the digital money.
Maybe Laurent, a few thoughts on that.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you. I was looking at you, and I seen you were ready also to interrupt. Please.
I also believe that stablecoin is rather an intermediary step. Why? Maybe to explain my
Interesting.
First of all, let's understand that when we talk about payments are not made by banks. Let's not forget that payments are made by payment service providers, the Visa, the MasterCard, the GCB, the SWIFT of the world, the clearing house, and so on. So commercial banks are only, I would say, point of contacts which provide payment means. If you look at the payment side, who receive the payment, the merchants, most of them will accept any mean of payments. As soon as it's legal, be it cryptocurrency, stablecoin, potatoes, whatever. And what we have seen, let's not forget, AXA had been the first insurer in 2018 to accept premium payments in Bitcoin and Ethereum. But as soon as they were receiving the payment, they were converting to fiat. That brings us back to the point of Charmaine, until we still have to pay, I would say, charges, wages in fiat, there is no way we will, I would say, be in a position to hold in our balance sheets something else than euro, dollar, and the rest. And this brings me to the transition to what Phillipe said. Only a regulator with the power to make something illegal or legal can replace cash, euro, dollar by something else. And that something else will not be stablecoin. If it happens one day, and I don't believe it might happen that easily,
Interesting.
CBDC. It will be CBDC. Why? Because again, that's the only way you can enforce legally, put people in jail to accept something or not. And I say if it happens, because once again, there is something very strong between the retail people, us consumers, and the central banks is the commercial banks. And I don't believe commercial banks are going to let that happen because that's about their survival, which is at stake.
It's really interesting point of view. Yeah, David, maybe you have something.
I think I just want to make one point in that it's not just about issuing a CBDC. It's also about making sure that people actually use CBDC or digital currencies, because they have issued a CBDC in the Bahamas. And the Bahamas was the first, the Sandcoin was the first CBDC that was issued. I think it was maybe 3 years ago or something like that. But the uptake of use of it is actually quite minimal, because all they're doing is transfers. And the people that actually go to the Bahamas, generally, they come with their wads of Joes or whatever it is, thousands of dollars from the USD. Same kind of thing is happening in Nigeria at the moment, right? So they had the launch of the e-Naira, another production use case. It's been in production, but people haven't really been using it. Why haven't they been using it? They haven't been using it because actually they already have payment systems by MasterCard or SWIFT or whatever it is that are in place and that work, fairly well, apart from, the international transfer, international cross-border stuff that I was mentioning before. So really what you need to do is you need to bring something to the table, which is like very innovative. So all of the stuff around programmable money, all of the stuff around offline payments, using digital wallets, all of that kind of stuff is like so important. And I think if there's any central banks that are listening to this, or if there's any people out there that are interested in this and are lobbying those kind of institutions, I would say to them, don't rush into issuing a CBDC. Issue a CBDC on technology that can actually support programmable money and do something interesting with it. Because if you don't do that, then actually the CBDC will go on market and nobody will use it.
Really, really interesting. Yes, Phillipe, and then I will ask to Charmaine also to share her point of view.
Yeah, programmable money, do we really need that? Do we want to offer to the bank the possibility to use such money? You know what we can do with that? It's very good, but we can do very horrible things. For example, the bank can decide to issue some money that may disappear in 1 month. They give you here some money, but the smart contract on this money say in 1 month your money disappears, so you have to spend it. And it's what is going to happen. Is the reason that the bank realized that on this cryptocurrency there is a lot of new possibility in the money system to do a lot of things, good or bad.
But depending on the use case, that could be okay. So for example, in China with their CBDC, they have this concept of the red packets, right? So the red packets are basically money that you give to your loved ones on Golden Week, which is a Chinese thing. And during that time, then you basically use that to be able to pay for presents or whatever it is. And the way that they did is they had basically programmable money issued into digital red packets, which were given to the population in, I think it was Shanghai and some of the outlying cities around there. And they could use that within Golden Week. So it was actually a real representation of the kind of thing that you were meant to be doing in that world. So I think yes, you could do things with it. You could say, oh, we'll only give you a mortgage that lasts this amount of time. If you don't do it, then we'll automatically put your house up for sale. But I don't think that it will be used that way. I think it'll be used in a more constructive way.
No. With programmable money, it's one guy that say, I want to have the money do these things, and that's it. And the people who will use this money will have no liberty. They will have to comply to what they decide, and that is pretty bad. We really cryptocurrency. You can lose your freedom about what you can do with money. It's and because also it's who takes the decision of what you do with the money, and it's going to be the government, the bank system will decide. It's not going to be the people who want to save their money for the future. We may say to them, no, you cannot anymore save money. We don't want to. And is that a big danger of CBDC? And by the way, CBDC will be adopted by everybody because we need to realize what is going to be in the beginning. It's going to be just a payment system because, and for sure, the commercial bank, Hassan mentioned that, are afraid of CBDC, and they should be afraid. And in fact, it's still in negotiation at this moment. This year, in 2023, is going to be very interesting because at the end of this year, they have to decide if yes or no they move forward with a CBDC plan, and they have to define clearly what is going to be. And for now, I think we start to see what is going to be in the beginning. There's going to be a payment system because they're going to issue. It's going to be very simple, even in terms of technologies. They're not going to use blockchain or a complex system. It's going to be quite systemic. They're going to issue a simple debit card. They even have decided to limit, put plafond on the top at 3,000. In the case of euro, 3,000 euro, you cannot spend more than 3,000 euro with it. And they're going to claim that they're going to have the property of the cryptocurrency. For example, you are going to be able to pay from person to person, but in fact, the bank will be in between, like before. And it's going to be the beginning of, and once there is a very interesting debate, and the message that I want to really carry today is that we need to really talk a lot about this CBDC and debate a lot. We need to, during my campaign, presidential campaign, people say, it's never going to happen. No way that we are going to have this type of money appears. And I make a mistake in my campaign because I'm sure that what I'm going to do with this French crypto money, I'm going to remove, that is going to have no more taxes anymore. Because we can really create...
Phillipe, it's really fascinating. I see how committed you are really spreading the word. I want to give also the mic to Charmaine. The time is running fast. I promise you, we will organize again a debate and with longer time, more time to dive because it's so exciting. Charmaine, your reaction, your feedback. We are close to end this panel discussion. What do you want to share with us about CBDC, stablecoin? Should we be afraid of the emergence of CBDC? What's your point of view?
Well, yeah, I agree with what everybody said here. And I think before any more countries actually issue a stable coin, they need to have consultations with the banks, the public. There needs to be education. There is a lot of fear. People think, programmable money, they could take the money out of my account. They could do, instead of bailing out the banks, they'll bail people in. They'll take money out of your account and give you shares in a bank that's on the brink of bankruptcy. There's lots of fear just now. So I think education would solve that. And coming back to, controlling what you can do with your money, in the UK, pensioners, old people, they get this thing called a winter fuel allowance, right? And it's a few £100 gets paid into their bank account to help pay their heating bills through the cold months. Now, the problem with this scheme, it's a very good scheme, but they get this money in their account at the start of December. Now, what do all these old people do? Do they put their heating on? No. They buy Christmas presents for their family. So they're using this money for something completely different. Now, if a CBDC sort of windfall was put into your account and say, you can only use this for your electricity and gas bill, then the people wouldn't be cold. So I can see it both ways. There are, my salary, yes, I want to spend that on whatever I want. I might want to buy Bitcoin with it. But, if it's an allowance or, a school uniform allowance for your children, it should be spent on that thing, and it should be spent within the right period of time.
Thanks for sharing your point of view. Hassan, a last word.
Yes, I wanted to say I may be a bit picky here, that programmable money is an utopia. And why do I say that? Is because money is already programmable. If you're a parent, I agree with that. I'm sure you are very happy to know that you can control the way your children are using their money, their debit card, virtual debit cards, and those are tools that payment schemes are mastering since 10 years. And I think some people might not necessarily realize it. If you are in Greece 3 years ago, you are told that you could only withdraw 30 euro at the ATM per day. If you are in Canada 1 year ago and you supported the truckster, you had your bank account frozen. So money is already programmable. The question is not about is it or not. The question is, how do we want money to be managed? If it's centrally managed, we are at risk. If it's decentrally managed, we give power back to us, to the citizens of the world.
Thanks to you. It's very interesting. David, to close this exciting debate, your last word?
Yeah, so I would just say that, as Hassan has said, your money at this point in time, you can do things with your money, right? So your money is programmable. You could set limits. You could offer products. You could give products which gave you cash for a certain amount of time and then didn't, release them if you didn't do payments. That is all possible. But the thing that stops the commercial banks from doing terrible things with your money is regulation. And it will continue to be regulation in a CBDC world. So I don't see why a new technology, which would potentially mean that on and off ramps for digital currencies and on and off ramps for settlement for things, whatever it is going to necessarily change that, if I'm 100% honest. I am very crypto focused as well. I think that the idea of, the new era of finance and that everybody has a distributed payment system and the original vision of Bitcoin, I buy that 100%. But I don't think that because we have programmable money through CBDCs, that all of a sudden banks are just going to be able to do what they want with our money, or central banks are going to be able to do with their money, because there'll be too much resistance to it.
Thanks to you. Thanks to you guys. It's time to end this very exciting and inspiring discussion. You contribute to enrich my vision too. It was a pleasure, and see you soon. let's keep building together. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks again to our guests, and thank you everyone for listening. Thanks also to the Bariam Music team for providing their music. You can check them out on bariammusic.com. All of the supporting information is on our website, blockchainrecorded.com. You can listen to us on Google, Apple, and Amazon podcasts, as well as on YouTube, Spotify, Radio Public, and Stitcher. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube, where we are super grateful for your support. Stay tuned for our next episode.